That's so good. Sorry, I think I was talking to myself. I think I was just talking to myself. So if you heard me say that, don't worry. I think I've been too much on my own. I'm starting to answer my own questions. Oh my goodness, I don't know where I'm up to today. It's been really hectic. I'm not going to stay on for long. I have had readings and appointments and whatever else going on. So I'm not going to stay too long on the live. Well, at this stage, sometimes I get a bit carried away. Hello, I would imagine the bell's gone off here today. Hey guys, how you going? Hey Jane, how are you? I haven't answered your email yet, but I have seen it. Jeanette, how are you today? Oh, Gigi and Lauren, look at that. Did you all guys all got the bell today, didn't you? Because you all come on really quickly. Hey, Haley too. Yeah, it worked today. It's weird, isn't it, how it does that? Oh, I thought I'd do a little bit of a reading. Had a couple of things I wanted to talk about today, and then I thought I got so sidetracked with what else has been going on that I thought I was a bit later than I would normally be. But all good. So, I was really cool today. I went and had a skin cancer check. Which I haven't had done for a really long time. And I thought, oh, I'm getting a few like those little sunspotty things. And I thought I'd go and have them all checked. And the doctor said to me, you have really good skin. He said, don't worry, you're all good. And he burnt off a few little things I had there and said to me, no problem at all. Off you go on your bike, all clear. Very, very nice. Okay. So beautiful cards I've got here today. So I'm still using the Akashic Tarot. And I put 3 cards out. And again, I've got 2 majors and a minor, which I think was much the same as yesterday, which I think is quite interesting. So I have the 7 of Scrolls. So let's see what this all means. Work on a Renaissance cathedral has begun. At first, this building seems modest, but at time, its grandeur will reach several stories high and across the centuries. But now piles of stones and rocks dot the scene. A mason bends, focusing. Oh, can we see it? Yep. Focusing intently on a plumb bob that hangs next to a partially built wall. This instrument helps him determine if the wall is straight and true. At a very basic level, this card could indicate building, renovating a home or business. This card also shows you on your way to greatness. But it requires attending to even the tiniest of particulars. Be diligent with the specifics in your strategy and pay considerable attention to detail and follow through. While you may have a long-term goal in mind, the small steps are what are important now. Even the most magnificent cathedrals were built stone by stone, day by day. It's only by heaping up the small that the great can be achieved. Oh, there you go. So we're building something here. Let's see what that means. Okay, because I have Archangel Michael coming through. Hello. Oh, I was looking at it thinking, what do you mean I have to have mine done? Yeah, skin checks. I haven't had one done for a while, so I was a bit nervous. Oh, well, there you go. But he burned off a lot of those little things while I was there and said to me, I can have them removed if I think they're unsightly. So, okay, Archangel Michael is a channel of divine power. When you receive this card, know that your energy reflects Michael's amazing strength. This can be a cycle of increasing power for you. Wow, okay. Greater courage, force, initiative, and action. So Michael's coming through to help you build something. Michael is coming in to help build something that you are planning for your future. All right. And then I have the Ark of the Covenant. So I just want to have a look at that. It's not the one that's in Indiana Jones. Okay. And this talks about, at the most mundane level, this card can represent a beneficial legal contract or title transfer. Okay, how many of you are building a house at the moment? Who's got a project going on? Because this is pretty awesome. A beneficial contract or title transfer. It can also show successfully working with professionals such as brokers and lawyers. More often, it indicates that you are living true to your karmic contract. So, building from a karmic contract. Isn't that interesting? Facing your lessons of growth, working towards greater discoveries, and bringing your unique contribution to the world. Your karma does not rule you, you rule it. When the work becomes too great, taking a rest doesn't break with your covenant, it supports it. You understand the phases of time and energy, and you work within those phases. Some of your karmic directives at this time may involve other people. Wow. That a far-reaching influence that may impact your present as well as your future lives. So continue working towards your highest purpose. Okay, so some of you have got something that you're either building towards or building at this time. And something here, somebody is coming in here to either support you financially or to help you move to the next level. So that's really interesting. And the other card I got from the other deck was New Life. Something big is happening here. Bring it on, I say. Bring it on. Birth of new ideas, growth and opportunities all fits together. A breath of fresh air and life renewing itself. When spring awakens the world, joy and excitement can be felt all around and in your very core. Blah, 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 blah. Prosperity message. You have every reason to be optimistic right now as things seem to fall in place magically. New opportunities remind you that abundance is available to you. Delight in the bounty that begins to appear in surprising forms. Wow. So somebody's building something here. So whether or not that's something physical, something that you're putting together, or whether this is something that you're building within yourself. Ah, there you go, Hayley. That's really interesting. Okay, so that's really interesting. I do think that that's something to do with us building here. Hey, Deborah, how are you going? I feel like that's something to do with us building for a future, putting a lot of energy into ourselves here. And there looks like there's going to be some help from someone to get you on the road, onto the road of building better than what we've built before. Something that's going to push us all along, but help us to work towards something, perhaps together. Yep, believing in the magic. So definitely. It is really a beautiful journey. There's no doubt about that at all. The limitless thing. Oh, Hayley, I think we should have like tattoos put on our backs or something with limitless on there. My hair looks really funny. I've just washed my hair today and it's all over the place. I think it is about us building ourselves up for the future. Well, I've got all things opening up on my computer. I had to think about things this morning because I was thinking about some of the readings I've had over the years, that have talked about, where I was going to go. And I can remember, having readings. I was just talking about them to someone I was reading for, having readings and they don't necessarily come through in a certain period of time. And the funny part was, like a lot of times the readings resonate and they were similar. So I could go back after 12 months and the next reading was very, very similar to me. And I used to think, why are they taking so long to come around? Why is it not happening in a way that, is right for me? And why is it taking so long? And then I started, of course, realize the journey of doing the work on yourself. And up until that time, I'd probably been doing a little bit of work. I'd certainly was doing meditation, but I don't think I really, I was really putting a lot of work into really understanding some of the deeper things about myself and my childhood and some of the things that, I'd sort of grown, I don't know, accustomed to over the years and not really thought much about. So I went back and started to do a lot of work on myself. And I say to people now, everything that I was told, anything up to 20 years ago is really only just starting to take shape for me now. So it's quite interesting. And I had a couple of readings done about 3 years ago that have been really, really accurate in the present moment. But at the time I had them, I went, that's never going to happen. Anyway, so there was a whole story about me telling you about this because I thought it was really interesting when I was thinking about it yesterday. I was told probably about 20 years ago, I was always had readings done, and I was told that I would meet a twin flame. Was told I would meet somebody along the way. And I had 2 or 3 people describe him to me, quite explicitly in a couple of the readings I had. And one of them had said to me that he was a friend that would eventually become a partner. And another one said to me something to the effect of, I wouldn't recognize him because I would be looking at him with my eyes and not with my soul. And I always thought that was really an odd thing to say. So, and those things happened a long time ago. And I had that experience going back quite a few years ago now of meeting the person. And we became friends, and we were friends for quite a few years. And I never really looked at him that way at all. I never really thought of him as being anything more than a friend. And it's quite interesting now going back and reading those readings and looking at those readings, realizing that everything was told to me, but I never really looked at this person with my soul. I looked at them with my eyes. I stood back from what I felt at the time because it was really important to me to maintain the friendship, and I never really looked further or beyond that. And when I read about it now, I think, holy hell, so many people told me way before it ever happened. So many people told me, and I've still got all the readings that talk about it, which I think is quite interesting. So when you go and have readings and things don't pan out straight away, never think that someone's given you a reading that isn't right. It probably isn't the time for it to come through. Why we are given readings so far ahead sometimes. I mean, these people were right about this person, right down to even his sign. His appearance, everything was there, but I'd put it away, never really thinking any more about it. So I think it's quite interesting. So the same thing happened, I think, a couple of times with me when people have said, you did a reading for me, at this amount of time ago. And I think, well, they're coming back for another reading. So obviously there must have been things within that reading that were true or came true. And I had a woman yesterday who said that she'd had a reading from me about 2 years ago, and that everything except for one thing had not come in for her. So in fact, it was really very positive what she said to me. And she's coming back for another reading now because one thing I'd said to her within that reading hadn't come around yet. And I started to think about it, and I thought, I wonder how many times when we have a reading, we dismiss it because we don't think it's right, or we don't like the way it fits towards us, or we dismiss it because we think it's impossible or we'll never reach that, or we dismiss it purely because it just doesn't feel right for us at the time. How many things we don't really think will come true out of that. So from a for a long time ago, I was told that I would become extremely famous on a national level. And I remember thinking, that ain't never going to happen. And it's really funny because the reason I thought for all this was because my friend said to me, you're going to be huge. You're going to be huge. And I was like, no, I don't really see that. Don't really see that happening. But I sit around now and I think, wow, I never listened, and look at me. I'm reading for people all over the world now. So over the last week, I've read for so many people in the States. It is just incredible. And I'm getting word of mouth advertising in other countries. And I just can't even go back and talk about the things that I was told because I just didn't think that I'd ever get there. Because we get into our ego, Jules, don't we? We get into our ego and we think, that doesn't look right to me now. Little old me, And then I sit there and I think, wow, and here I am reading for people all over the world. How amazing is that? So how many of you have had readings where you think, hey, Jody, how you going? You just sprung in. Um, there you go. See? And some of the time, I talk to people. There you go. Thank you. Sometimes I talk to people and I tell them things that don't come true exactly as I say they do. So I always say to people, you have to be a little bit sort of open minded here, because I can tell you that's going to happen, but it may not come in the way I see it. So I look at myself now and I think some of the readings that I've had for myself, I just didn't see them coming through in the way that they did eventuate. So spirit's very clever like that. So very often, well, I think I've told you about the one girl, love the negative ego, yay! One girl up where I said to her, somebody was coming in and she just laughed at me. And she said to me, that will never happen. I don't leave the house. Well, that's all right. We'll just arrange someone to come to your home. And she met in her home. But my favourite one's still the girl that said to me, I said to her, wow, I've been reading her for ages and nobody had been in her reading other than the relationship she dealt with. And I said to her, you have somebody coming in. Are you going on holidays? Because I feel like you're going to meet this person on holidays. And after she came back from holidays, she said to me, I'm dating the travel agent. And I was like, see what I mean? So it's not always exactly. And I think now looking back over some of the readings, because I've managed to keep quite a few of the readings that I've had done over the years. And I think looking back over them, I did exactly the same thing. I was sort of like, not poo-pooing things, but going, oh yeah, that just sounds way too incredible for me, or that person just sounds amazing, but I'll probably never meet someone like that. Or it seems wonderful to think that I would become popular in my work, but I just never thought it would be anything like this. So there's sort of this incredible feeling that perhaps a lot of the stuff I do now people probably think won't happen to them, and it does, and it's beautiful. So I get people coming back who've been coming to me for periods of time since I've been doing readings publicly. Thank you, Gigi. When people come back after a period of time. So there are people that I've been reading for. So I've been reading sort of more publicly or more for the public in the last probably 5 years now. And some of those people have come back intermittently along the way, or, I have met up with them at different stages. And most people sort of wait for, maybe 12 months for another reading. But I do have people who are working on themselves who do like to sort of touch base with me, more frequently, just to get a bit of feedback on how they're going or what they're doing in the universe. And I think, so I do a lot of sort of more coaching stuff as well. And I just think that the journey's just so amazing. So I've been reading over my readings that I've had over the years. So the oldest one I've got there would be from probably going back 20 years ago. And I have some that date back probably more so several years ago. That's really cool. And I love people who say, oh, it's just so nice to have an Australian reader. I'm like, oi, oi, oi. So I don't know. So that's what I wanted to say to you. Basically, what I'm trying to say is don't discount a reading and think that it is impossible. Don't discount a reading thinking that person is off key, off center, whatever you want to say, and think that the reading isn't correct because it just seems, so amazing. You're not really sure that you could reach that, because it may not be that you're there at that time, but it doesn't mean the reading isn't meant to come through in the next 12 or 18 months and even up to 3 years. So, and Jeanette, I talk often about the woman I used to work for, because I've had a lot of bullying in my time, to be honest with you. People still try it on. And she used to say to me all the time, "I hate your voice. You're so whiny." And it made me really conscious of it. And I remember going home and I love Kitty Flanagan. I think she's so funny. She's a crack up. Um, and thank you, Erin. That's beautiful and lovely to see you on here. I love Erin's feedback too. And I just feel like sometimes that we don't really respect or appreciate, or we're so humble that sometimes when people tell us wonderful things are going to happen to us, that we don't always trust that those messages are for us. And I want to say to you, if people are bringing messages through to you and you don't think you can attain them, just take them with a grain of salt and just wait. Just don't try to control the outcomes. Just wait and see how things go. Because I think I've missed a lot of stuff along the way because I didn't think I was worthy. So, now I sort of look at it and I still have a little bit of a humble part of me that sort of feels a little overwhelmed by things sometimes. But at the end of the day, any one of you can do amazing things. So I'm just loving reading your comments here. Yes, exactly. But we've got so much more to achieve, and we're really lucky because we have all of each other now to bounce that off, which I think is pretty amazing. Now, talking about bouncing things off, I may be a little late on the G's Gang this Saturday because I booked in some face-to-face readings. And I've got a few of them on Saturday morning, and I did estimate. Oh, beautiful, Erin. What a lovely thing to say. I think that is probably just me trusting in the universe more. When I first started, I was very insecure and very unsure of myself doing readings. I knew that I could do it. And it took me a lot of courage. And I remember the first video I ever did, I was so talk about triggers, like everything was going inside of me when I uploaded it. And I can remember doing that very first one. And then after that, it was great. And then, of course, things that, okay, Jules, yeah, well, I as I said, I'm going to be maybe a little bit late too. I have 3 readings, I think, on Saturday morning. Oh, thanks, Jody. And then I think, with that whole trying it out and having fun with it, and being so nervous about putting myself on camera. And then, of course, just going to do these things a few months ago. And now I've got very, very comfortable with seeing my face there, which I wouldn't have thought would have been the right thing to do. So I battled with the voice thing because what I'd been told about my voice. I battled with the face thing because I was too embarrassed to put my face on camera. And I think at the end of the day, I've managed to get past all of those obstacles. And I love what I do. And I don't feel uncomfortable with it at all anymore. And even sitting here a couple of times, I've thought, wow, here's me. I'm sitting here talking to myself. None of you guys answer me back. And yet when I go off this channel, I feel like I've had a conversation with every one of you. So just by reading and listening. So it's really interesting, isn't it? Thanks, Scott. That's beautiful. Thank you. I've had people say to me they listen to me because it helps them go off to sleep. I'm like, what? That's interesting. Beautiful, beautiful quote, Erin. That's lovely. Thank you. But it's just a self-acceptance thing. It's just a self-acceptance thing. I guess, like when you go through life, you just sort of, I don't know, you just doubt yourself so much over things. And I'm sure many of you will relate to the fact that sometimes, you make your mind up to do something, or you're sure that's something you want to do. And then by the time it's come around to doing it, you've lost that spark and you just talked yourself out of it. So that was me for many, many years doing that. Yeah, she does dailies in bed too. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it did trigger me really badly the first few times. And there are times still when I'll do a reading and I'll start the reading and it just doesn't feel right to me. So I've taken it off and started again, because I may not be 100% sure that I've got the right energy coming through, or it doesn't sound right to me. And a couple of times, I've put readings forward that have actually been quite confronting and quite emotional to do, feeling the energies coming through. And I remember thinking, it just seems wrong to put readings up when they feel a little bit negative. But now I know that people need to hear them. So, if that's what you need to hear, I'll try and tell you in the best possible way, but it still means you need to have that energy. So yes, definitely when you're getting readings from other people. But I think I told you I got an Akashic reading done, or Akashic reading done a couple of months ago now, a month ago maybe, and that was pretty amazing because I'd had one done probably about 10 years ago, and obviously there were similarities between the two, so I knew that they were both on track. And it was quite an expensive reading to have done, but oh my goodness, it's one of the best things I've ever sat through. I cried so many times. It hit home with me so many times about my journey and what more I had to give and finding my way, and the fact that I still have so much more to do. And it's quite amazing. So, if you ever sort of feel that you want to have a little glimpse into why you're here, what your purpose is, and what you had decided before you came to the planet to make sure you had on this journey, then it's really good to hear that, and it will fit in with everything you know about yourself. Absolutely. So it's really crazy that, that we have this opportunity to have a deeper look inside ourselves, but how often we doubt the messages coming through. How often do you doubt what you're hearing? Or how often do you think you don't deserve to have that? Or, it may not be right for you, or maybe, they've just got the wrong energy. I don't know, but we do it all the time. And it's really sad that we don't fully trust our journey. Who did the reading for me, Hayley? A beautiful woman who was really, really lovely. And her name... Jeanette, I've just got your message. So Jeanette and Jane, thank you very much. I always say to people, let me know what's going on for you. I will get back to you. Oh my goodness, I've got so many emails here. Let me just see if I can find this woman's. She's got a Facebook page. I don't mind pushing her because she did an incredible job for me. And her name is Michelle Schmidt. Her website is Michelle Schmidt. So it's MichellesChmidt.net. But I'm pretty sure she's on Facebook as Akashic and Intuitive Readings. But such a lovely person. And so I went back after I'd had the Akashic records done, and I went back and got a little bit of a reading for myself to sort of get some guidance going forward. Schmidt, yep, certainly. So I would highly recommend her, considering I have been to a number of readers over the years who haven't really sort of hit home with me, and everything about it hit home. When you're sort of reduced to tears 2 or 3 times and you have to stop something just to really, really understand where it's coming from, it's pretty powerful, because it hits notes within you that you know already that's there. Oh, that's all right. I'm happy to promote anybody on here if they're good at what they do. It just hits so many points. It hits so many places. So if you do decide to get one, I think they're about 320 Australian dollars, so they're quite expensive. I should let her know that she may have a barrage of people coming through, but well worth it. I think it was nearly an hour, and she did it in segments and talked about the percentages I'd achieved and what my next goals were, and they were just so incredibly aligned with what I was doing, especially in line with the spiritual gifts. So they all came through, all the spiritual stuff. So that blew me away. But certainly, hey, Caitlin, how are you going? It certainly blows me away when I hear things about myself and I think, wow, I've really achieved so much in that regard. And it was wonderful. It was really lovely. So I highly recommend her. So I guess that's all I wanted to talk about was just don't discount a reader. Sometimes what they're saying to you may not sound right at the time. Um, something like timing, for example. Sometimes I've said to people, that may take a month or 2 months or 3 months. And I do have a go at timing. And I know that sometimes I'm going to be wrong because the person may not do the work on themselves that's required or may not trust their journey. Or something. So just remember, just to sort of take it on board and sort of go with the flow a little bit. Yeah, I would highly recommend it, Hayley, and please share with me when you have it done, because I'd love to find out what they've said for you. Beautiful. Thanks, Jody, for coming on. It's lovely to see you. Crystal Beauty, how are you? I always know you're coming in with those beautiful little, isn't it a Scorpio sign? I think it is, isn't it, after your name? Yeah, and I know that sometimes I've said to people this will happen in the next few months, and people will let me know. Believe me, they will let me know when it happens. And sometimes we are incredibly specific. What we'll do, Hayley, is we'll have a good talk about it on the G's Gang when we do a G's Gang once you've had yours done, and we'll talk about what we've. I've got to go back and listen. I've listened to it twice, but I'd like to go back and listen to it again. And I should be I have access to the Akashic records. She told me that on there. Apparently, I have incredible access to them, but I've just never learned to do that. So I may learn to do that in time as well. What time this week? I missed that. What was that? Oh, for the Saturday. I've got 10:30 for the thing, but I probably won't get on till about 11. G's Gang, because we were talking about Aussie Goddess, and there was a whole heap of G's that came in, and people were like, "What about this G? What about that G?" And everybody was talking G's. So I went, "Okay, G's. We call ourselves the G's Gang, not the AG or the Aussie Goddess Gang or whatever." But there were other G's that came in there, gorgeous and all those sort of things. So I went, right, we'll just call ourselves the G's Gang. That's how it came up. It was a combined effort, Caitlin, from a lot of people on here. So that's how we came up with the name. We had a lovely time last week, and because I didn't have too many people on board, we might do the next one a bit later, Lauren. Let's see how we go. Because I've got the classes for July are not till 3, so we could probably do it a little bit later next time so you can get on. And I can't remember what I was talking about now. Gods and goddesses. That's how it started. Because someone said the Aussie Goddess Gang. And I said, no, I don't want to put that in because we have gods as well as goddesses. So we ended up with gods, goddesses, gorgeous, gang, whatever. So we went G's Gang. So that's how we ended up with it. Thanks for that, Hayley. I'd forgotten that. Yeah, so that was sort of what I wanted to talk to you about today. But definitely, if you have an Akashic record reading done, please talk to me about it because I'd like to see if you come from the same place I do. I thought that was pretty impressive. And I've been told in my last reading as well. So I think sometimes, like you sort of take readings a little bit for granted, but when somebody covers the same ground someone else did before. So when I do when we talk about it, I'll bring both of the readings with me so you can see how they've shown me I've grown over that time. And that's what I was going to say to you. I know that I have access. She told me that I have access to do it as well, but it's never been something that I've really got around to doing. And I've even purchased a training session to understand how to do it. Caitlin, I read it out for everybody before. Her name is Michelle Schmidt. So it's Michelle, MICHELLE, That's all one word. But she's on Facebook as Akashic and Intuitive Readings. If you're unsure, just email me and I'll send it out. So what was I going to say? Yes, so apparently I can do it too, but I just haven't got around to doing it. So I'm actually thinking of doing a little bit further down the track. But yeah, it just adds to the gifts. But there was a lot of things that were said in there that I could do that I haven't really got into yet. So I know I'm on the way there. And I'm, doing really well with what I've got at the moment. So I'm not really too worried. I've been really enjoying doing that. You know what, Lauren, if you can't afford to do it at the moment, then maybe I could try to do a test run for you or something. But we'll talk about it when we do the group. And that was the whole idea of doing the group, so we could sort of share more intimate stuff rather than sort of on YouTube. It would be nice to be able to talk about things that are really personal to us and not have to worry. Oh, Sarah, where did you spring from? Yes, you're horribly late. Where have you been? Yeah, happy to be my test dummy. Nice. I've been reading for Lauren for a while, probably a couple of years now. So yeah, so there are people around that that you see on here that I have been reading for a while, and I think there's no greater compliment than having people I've read for that come and talk here. I've been to London to visit the Queen. I'm trying Pussycat. That's what it is. 2 years, yeah. I was doing readings on the riverboat at Penrith. And it was really cool, but they were only with like little snippets of readings, which was great because I had a lot of people come back to get a full reading. But it's really hard to get what you want in 10 minutes, even if someone asks you a question. It takes like a few minutes to get into people's energy and for them to feel comfortable to open up a little bit. It was quite interesting. Thanks, Jules. I'm really lucky because I don't know why I was chosen. I don't know why I was chosen. So the 10-minute reading was brilliant. Lauren, you're beautiful. Thank you so much. I felt really uncomfortable doing them. And I ended up leaving there, not because of that, but because there was a little bit of sort of strange energy on that boat. And a couple of things happened that were a little, I don't really think anything horrible or evil ever happens to me. I'm really lucky. I'm well protected. But there was a couple of things that happened on the boat the last couple of times we were there. There was the girl and I that I was sitting with, our cloths got pulled out from under on the table, and there was no wind or anything like that. And then one of the fridges downstairs in the kitchen completely shattered. And there was this whole sort of feeling of discomfort. And I remember standing there and somebody whispered in my ear, and a spirit whispered in my ear something about, it's not about you. Don't worry, it's not about you. And I was like, okay, what was that for? And then one of the other girls said she'd got a very similar message to me. But it sort of freaked me out a little bit because I don't know what was going on beyond that. So I ended up stepping out of that little job. I did it a few times, so I did enjoy it. But a 10-minute reading, well, there you go, Lauren. So I sort of stepped back and went, I don't feel that there's something just not quite right about doing, for me. The other people all stayed, but there was something for me that didn't sit right. So I just got a little bit cautious because I thought there's a spirit here telling me to get out. It's not about me. So I was like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm done. Which was a bit crazy. That was the only time you'd been on the boat. Yeah, it was a beautiful boat. I reckon because I'd gone on it sometime before, maybe a year before, with a group of girls that I knew a few of them from work, and there was a whole stack of us, maybe 12 of us, that got together and went on for a brief reading and a afternoon tea, scones and tea, which was really nice for about $40. It wasn't expensive. And I'd had a reading done there. it was time to move on. Caitlin, my life seems to be like that. Like I always say to you, Spirit only pokes you a few times with a stick, and if you don't listen, they'll throw the stick at you. And that is my life. So, yes, the scones were amazing on there too. So I had the scones and a bit of a mini read. And I feel like at the time that when I got asked back to do the readings, I thought I wasn't really sure whether it was right for me. But after that little experience, I thought, no, it probably isn't the place for me. Like I said, I've always been well looked after. I don't have any issue or problem with anything horrible around me. So I decided, yes, 3 goes or whatever it was my deal. But I do understand they were still going. I don't know whether they still are, but yeah. Thanks, Jules. I don't know whether they're still going or not, but they probably are. And then I was doing lots of fairs. So up until the COVID struck, I was doing fairs. Last year, I think I did one fair pretty much every weekend, which I love to do because I got to meet so many people face to face. So I'd been doing fairs for close to 4 years or 5 years now, and I've done a few coffee shop engagements and things like that as well. So those are really good fun. Doing medieval days and things like that. It's really cool. So you've been doing lots of stuff along the way, but now it's YouTube. It was YouTube's time, and I'm absolutely enjoying every bit of this as well. And where to from here? I don't know. I might need a tarot reading to see what the next step of my journey is. The spirit and the stick. Yeah, that's my story. And I say that to people all the time. You know, if you're getting messages, you know, in regards to doing something or attending to something or starting something up, whatever it is for you, if you're getting messages and you do not listen to the prompts, that's when you get the tower. Yeah, that's how I met Jules too. I met Jules in Port Macquarie, I think. Was it? So Lauren, you only went once. Yeah, you obviously came to meet me. Yeah, of course you did. There was a destiny there. Yeah, Jules, I never thought that we would be so so remarkably close now. So that's beautiful too. It's interesting, isn't it, how your journey sort of, yeah, I thought it was Port. But Jules was reading there too. So Jules is a reader. A few people on here who read. And some people just read for just friends and close people, which is sort of how you tend to start out. But I was just speaking to someone before, and she said she'd been doing that for a long time. And I said to her, you should be charging for your readings. You should be making yourself a little bit of pocket money out of it. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get off. I'm going to go and have something to eat and chill a bit. I've got a couple of readings this afternoon. I love you too. Yeah, see, Caitlin does it for close friends and family. Stop it. Make them pay for it. You're doing a service. You know, years ago, the gypsies would never, ever do a reading unless you crossed their palms with silver. So there had to be an exchange, and we always talk about equal exchange of energy. So for something you do for someone, you should be getting something back. Now, I always think of that whole thing about you wouldn't expect someone to come over and do your plumbing for you if you weren't prepared to give them some money for it. So it's no harm in asking. All right, guys, it's been lovely to see you on board today. There have been a lot of people on today. Yeah, do it on Facebook. Start off with Caitlin. Start off with doing one card pulls like I do on Facebook when I get an opportunity. I've got so much going on at the moment. I love doing that. It's such great energy. But anyway, Jeanette and Jane, I'm getting back to you very shortly. Much love to you all. Thank you for the video. Oh, thumbs up for the videos. Yes. I'm reading it thinking, what did I say about the video, Hayley? You're welcome, Scott. All right, see you all. Mwah. Love you all.